Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are going to do a tier list for Game Week 8. Now, this video of course comes with a very, very large asterisk because we don't know, of course, if all of the games this weekend are going to go ahead. I don't want to speculate too much on which games are going to go ahead, which games are not going to go ahead. The prevailing opinion is that some London games may not go ahead, but I think there is possibility for some of the games outside of London to not go ahead as well. But for the purpose of this video, I think we should assume all of the information we know right now is correct, and obviously when this video actually comes out, maybe everything is completely irrelevant, but I like making videos too much to stop, so I'm just going to make this video anyway, and hopefully guys you can be a little bit understanding of the kind of wacky situation we're in right now. So as of recording, the time is now at 3 PM on the Monday. Everything that I know is accurate of the time of recording, so that's all I'm going to say on that one. Let's rank some players. If you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like. It would be really, really appreciated, and do subscribe if you're new around here as well. Let's do the FPL tier list for Game Week 8. Okie dokie guys, as always we've got 20 players. They're the 20 most popular transfers in so far this week, and we're going to put them all on this tier list. Must buys, great transfers, optional players, bad transfers, and straight up avoids. And we're going to start off with the 20th most popular transfer in, and right now that is Pascal Gross, and he has to go straight in avoid because right now the Brighton versus Crystal Palace game has been called off due to those strikes. Now those strikes have since been cancelled because of everything that's gone on in England, in the UK over the last kind of few days, but there is kind of a real kind of, you know, it looks like this game is still going to be postponed. It was already postponed, it was already cancelled, you know, a week ago, maybe even more than a week ago now, and it's going to probably stay that way because obviously Brighton don't have a manager right now, or a permanent manager right now, so they're going to try and buy all the time that they can need. They have no reason to try and reintroduce this game back into the schedule when they can put it off, when they can postpone it for a little bit longer, just so they can sort their situation out at the club a little bit. So I don't actually think this game is going to go ahead. Even though it technically can go ahead now, I don't think it will. The information right now is saying that it will not go ahead. Therefore, as of recording, Gross has to be an avoid because he doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 8, and it's pretty much as simple as that. The Chelsea game, look, I'm not going to speculate whether this one's going to go ahead. I think it probably won't. But right now, as far as I know, the game is going to go ahead. I don't think it will stay that way, but we move. So let's put Reece James into optional. I think you could go for him. I think the game against Liverpool anyway, it's probably not really the right time to buy Reece James as an option playing against Liverpool. Maybe you can wait one more game week. If you're on a wild card, for example, though, you know, go for it. Maybe you can bench Reece James anyway. You know, even if this game ends up getting called off, maybe it's not such a bad thing, and you could just bench Reece James and play some of your bench players for just this one game week. I think that's definitely a possibility for you guys. So yeah, I think he's optional. In terms of just normal transfers, I wouldn't be making any transfers right now until we have more information about what's going to go on. But yeah, if you're on a wild card, I can understand why we would go for Reece James. If you're not on a wild card, I think I would leave it. I would leave it one more week. Martinelli is obviously a great player to have in your FPL team, but would I be going for him right now? Arsenal's fixtures are about to get a lot tougher. So I don't think Arsenal players are must-buys in the way that they were before. Martinelli is still a very good pick. I know Arsenal want this game to go ahead at the weekend, but like I said, I don't want to make this video too much about what games are going to go ahead, what games aren't, because I don't have all of the answers. I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers. Nobody really knows what's going on right now, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess if you're on a wild card, I would go for him. If I wasn't on a wild card, I wouldn't say now is the right moment to go for Martinelli. I still slightly prefer him to Reece James though, so I'm going to put him slightly higher on optional. Don't think you have to get him, but you know, he's optional. You know, you can go for him. The time to buy Martinelli was probably before. That's not to say he's a bad pick now. You know, if you're on a wild card, I'd definitely have him in there because he's just such good value for money. But do you have to buy him right now? Not really. I think you can live without him. Spurs, I think Perisic is kind of a risky one. You know, now that the fixture schedule is getting really congested, we're probably going to see Perisic rotated a little bit. However, Spurs are about to play Leicester, which is a phenomenal fixture. Really, really good fixture. And I think that Spurs will score a few goals there. Perisic, I think maybe Spurs will concede just because Leicester aren't terrible in attack, really. They're just terrible in defence, aren't they? So there's a very strong possibility that Perisic could be involved in some of those goals. If Spurs were to go there and score 3 or 4 goals, you wouldn't be totally surprised. And if Perisic was involved in 1 or 2 of them, then you wouldn't be surprised again. And if there's a clean sheet added to that as well, it could be a mega haul. So Perisic, I'm going to put him high tier optional. Again, I don't think you absolutely must have him, just because there's potential for rotation, and from particularly from a defensive point of view, I don't think Spurs' fixtures are that great. If you're looking at the Spurs defenders, I would be probably going for some Spurs attackers for this Leicester game. When I say Spurs attackers, there's really only one I can think of going for. We'll speak about that player in a minute. But yeah, in terms of defenders, I wouldn't be so passionate about getting them in. Zaha, same situation as Pascal Gross. There's no fixture scheduled in for game week 8 as things stand. So as things stand right now, Zaha, I guess it's an avoid. As simple as that. No fixture. Andreas Pereira, I mean, if you're on a wild card, like, I still think he's a must buy. Like, I just think you absolutely have to have him, particularly if we're all kind of moving towards 3 forwards, aren't we? And if we're going for a 3 forward formation, then that means that we have to have a 4-man midfield. And if we're having a 4-man midfield, we need at least one bench midfielder, I guess. And there is no one better than Andreas right now. If you're just using random transfers to get Andreas, then, you know, maybe not. But, you know, good fixture up next. Nottingham Forest is the next fixture in game week 8 for Andreas. So you could potentially play him. If we're going to see a situation where a few games are being cancelled, a few games being called off, then maybe Andreas will be a really, really good bench option to have, actually, in this amazing fixture for him. So I feel like he is a must-buy in so many ways. Yeah, there's so much to like about Andreas as his option. I'm not saying he's the best FPL asset in the world. I'm not expecting him to score as many points as some of these other players. You know, Perisic, Martinelli, James on the screen right now. I'm not necessarily expecting him to score that many points. But in terms of his value for money, plus his points potential, plus his fixture, plus the fact that he's a really, really good bench player for these horrible situations like we're going to see in game week 8, he just seems to be the perfect player to have in your squad right now. So if you don't already have him, maybe get him. If you're on a wild card, definitely get him. Easy. Luis Diaz, again, I'm not sure if this game is going to go ahead. I wouldn't actually be investing too heavily on Liverpool players right now. I would arguably put Luis Diaz in bad transfer. The only thing is that I know Liverpool haven't been very good in general, but you have to say that Luis Diaz has been the standout player. He's been the best of the bunch, hasn't he? He's actually played reasonably well. So although the rest of the Liverpool team haven't been great, Luis Diaz has been a bit of a shining beacon. Liverpool, though, poor fixture. Don't really like this 8.2 million price point anymore. I think this price point is maybe a thing of the past. Too many trolley players in that price point. I don't think you have to get he is just optional. I think he is optional. I probably would prefer to have him than some of these players. But at the same time, maybe not. You know, we've got Chelsea again under new management, assuming this game goes ahead. Graham Potter's very, very good manager. I really rate against an out-of-form Liverpool team. Is Luis Diaz even going to get opportunities in that game, even in his fairly decent form? I don't know. I'm not really feeling it, so I'm going to put him low-tier optional. McAllister, he is also... I'm just going to put these in price order in the avoid section, I guess. But, yeah, Zaha, Gross, McAllister, unless you find out that, you know, the Crystal Palace versus Brighton game is now going to go ahead, which there's not really been any strong suggestion that will happen. Until that happens, you just don't even think about them. Definitely don't be buying them. If you're on a wild card, I guess it doesn't matter as much, as you can just switch things about a little bit more, can't you, if you're on a wild card. If you're just using your normal transfers to get in Brighton or Crystal Palace players in right now, you may have lost the plot, which is understandable given the situation we're in. Is a crazy situation. Anthony, game against Leeds, very good fixture, you know. Very good fixture. I kind of like it. I have to admit that I have heard murmurings that this game may be called off, but I kind of like it. Like for this game week, last game week I wasn't so keen for Anthony, but I think now he's been at the club a little bit longer, had a little bit more time in training to blend in. It's not all bad. I don't think he's a great transfer necessarily, but I think he is optional. I think I would rather take, if I'm going to go for a midfielder this week, I'm probably going to go for Anthony ahead of the likes of Martinelli and Luis Diaz in this week. The only problem is, of course, is that Man City is the fixture for Man United next game week. So what do you think about that one? Do you think Antony's still going to do well in that Man City game week? Possibly. In general, United have some mixed fixtures, so I think Antony could become a star. And as each week goes past, he is going to become a better and better FPL option. I don't think he's quite at the stage of great transfer or must buy, although I know Manchester United fans are already writing their angry comments in there already. How can... Antony is essential. You must have Antony in your team. I don't really think so. Not yet. But look, there's some potential there. From Antony's to normal Tonys. Here's another Tony. I think he's a great transfer. The only thing that puts me off Tony is that there's so many other forwards that I want. I guess we maybe slip him down to optional just because there are so many other decent forwards that I really like, and I do think Brentford's fixtures are not quite as good as some of the other forward options that you could possibly go for. So look, if there wasn't so many good forward options, I think Tony would have to go in a great transfer, but because the opportunity cost of getting Tony is sacrificing one of these, well, there's 4 more forwards in this tier list that I think are all better than Tony, and therefore the opportunity cost of getting Tony at this moment I think actually drops him down into optional. Don't think it's a bad transfer. Definitely don't think it's a bad transfer. But I think the opportunity cost of having him just drops him down a little bit. But I'm still going to put him high tier optional. So, Tony owners, if you have him already, and you're not wildcarding, then I would definitely be keeping it. He wouldn't be going anywhere. That's for sure. Haaland, still a must buy. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that one. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that one. I think he's an absolute must-buy. I'm going to put Harry Kane, though, this is the first time Harry Kane has been on a tier list. And in FPL terms, you guys probably know I've been a bit of a Harry Kane fanboy. So try not to assume that I'm being too biased here. But I think he's a great transfer. And the reason I'm saying that is because this Spurs versus Leicester fixture is such a good fixture for so many reasons. So first of all, Harry Kane, his best Premier League opponent, the opponent that he consistently performs so well against. He scores so many goals against them, gets assists against them. He just does so well against Leicester consistently. It's a home game, and also when Kane has historically been doing really well against Leicester, that's when Leicester were good. Now Leicester are bad, and Harry Kane is playing them. Harry Kane's in some very good form right now. I know people will say, well, he's not been in Haaland's form. No, of course he hasn't. But Kane has still been in very good form. He's still one of the highest scoring players in FPL so far this season. So lots of positives to be taken from Kane. And those of you guys who believe in the August curse, it's September now, so we can't really think about that anymore. And I actually genuinely think that Harry Kane is the best captaincy option for Game Week 8. I genuinely believe that, and I will back that. If assuming Game Week 8 even partially goes ahead, if this fixture goes ahead, I will be captaining Harry Kane against Leicester. I'm telling you it now. Going forward, I don't think it's a must-have or anything like that. I don't think it's a must-buy necessarily. And again, the situation is there are so many good forwards that if you go for Harry Kane, you have to sacrifice one of those forwards. But I just think, what a fixture. What a captain for this game week. Really, really good one. And yes, I would captain Kane ahead of Haaland if I had both. Which I do have both, actually, even before my wildcard. But there we go. We've got Dallo next. I think he's going to go into... I think he's a great transfer. I do think he's a great transfer. For 4.5 million, you can't really go wrong at that price. So I like him. He's going to go in there. I'm going to put Isak in there as well. On Manchester United, by the way, they're actually keeping a few clean sheets recently. They're arguably just as good as Arsenal in defence. And you wouldn't be saying no to a 4.5 million Arsenal fullback, would you? Probably not. Isak is going to go in there as well. A great transfer, great fixtures. I think he's a phenomenal player. He started the season off very well for Newcastle, showing some really positive signs. And a lot of people are very excited about him. Including myself. So, yeah, I do like Isak. He's kind of in the same kind of price point as Tony and Mitrovic. There is an option there to go for Isak. A little bit more of a differential than the other two. Really good fixtures. As you guys know, there's a few Newcastle players in this tier list for a very good reason. A great Game Week 8 fixture, so can't really complain about that. I like it. I like Isak. I like him slightly more than Tony, I think. Maybe that's because he's a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. Maybe it's to do with the fixtures. Probably a little bit of both, to be honest. Cancelo, Wolves is next, so that's like what, a guaranteed clean sheet, you would say. That's how it works, isn't it? If you play against Wolves, you get a clean sheet, or at least that's a good way of thinking of it. Let's put him in. I'm going to put him in low tier great transfer, just because I'm not sure he offers value for money. I'm not sure. He's just not making it. He's not taking enough shots. He's not passing. He's not creating as much. He hasn't been quite. His underlying numbers, like, I know, yes, he has got like a couple of assists, you know, goal this season. But he's just like, when you watch him play, when you actually watch him play, you can see he's not passing as much, he's not taking on as many shots. The underlying stats are saying the exact same thing. Is he worth that money? We're kind of seeing at the moment that the premium defenders, the really expensive defenders, aren't really getting that many more points than the cheaper defenders. So I don't think that Cancelo is a must-have anymore, which is something I didn't think I'd say at the beginning of the season, but we have to adapt to new information. That's what makes a great FPL manager, right? Being flexible, being plastic, being fluid. So let's put him in a great transfer still, because I still think, you know, at the very least, you're going to get clean sheets from him. You are going to get the occasional goal or assist, but I would like to see him creating a little bit more. I'd like to see him shooting a little bit more, but who's to say that can't start happening soon? De Bruyne, I think people are kind of just buying because they want to sell Salah, which is kind of understandable. But do I actually think he's an amazing transfer in right now? He's like optional. Like, you could go for him, you could not. He is a great player. He's going to score you FPL points. I would prefer to have De Bruyne than Salah right now. Like, that is the truth. So I guess that bumps him up a little bit. Would I prefer to have Haaland to De Bruyne? Probably. Would I prefer to have Kane to De Bruyne? Probably. Yeah, I probably prefer Haaland and Kane if you're going to go for two premiums. But at the same time, if you're kind of thinking, oh, I really like the look of some of these other forwards, so I want to go for Haaland and De Bruyne instead of Haaland and Kane, because I just want to get that third forward involved in my team, and I don't want to waste a forward slot on Kane, then that's completely understandable. And for that reason, if that's your thinking, then I'll definitely be considering De Bruyne as that second premium in your team, freeing up that third forward slot, I suppose. So in that sense, I do think De Bruyne is a great transfer. But yeah, I still prefer Haaland and Kane in terms of premiums. Mitrovic, I'm actually going to put straight into must-buy. I think, like, genuinely. And guys, those of you who used Fantasy Football Hub's Opta Stats tool, which I will link in the description, you will know that Mitrovic is second only to Haaland in the underlying stats. Like, he's getting insane amount of FPL points, but he's also taking a ridiculous amounts of shots. He's creating a little bit as well. His XG so far this season is just through the roof. He's basically Haaland, but not quite as good. It's essentially like, it's like having Haaland Jr. in your team, which is ironic considering that Haaland is the younger guy. But, you know, if I'm having just two forwards in FPL right now, it's Haaland and Mitrovic, no doubt about it, no cap. Honestly, if you're on a wild card and you haven't got Mitrovic in your team, then you're crazy to me. You're crazy to me. If you don't believe me, go check out the Opta stats. Go watch some Mitrovic from this season or last season or whatever. Honestly, I think he's absolutely ghosted, and he's got a phenomenal fixture this week as well. So, yeah, insane buy. Definitely a player that I would be having if I were you guys. Nick Pope, I think he's probably the best goalkeeper to go for. Of all the goalkeepers right now, I'd probably go for Nick Pope. So I'm going to put him in, I guess I'll put him in great transfer. Would I put him above Harry Kane? I think I'll put him slightly below Harry Kane, just because I like Harry Kane for the captaincy option so much this week. So I'm going to put Pope slightly behind him, but I still think if you're on a wild card right now, you've got to pick a new goalkeeper, you've got to be picking Pope. Like, you don't have to be picking Pope, particularly if you've got Trippier, who we'll talk about in a second. But, like, Pope is... He's up there. He's up there. He's making loads of saves. Newcastle have some really good fixtures. A lot of the shots that Newcastle are conceding are from distance, which is making easy save points for Pope, basically. And he's basically just like become a little bit of a cheat code. So I like him. I like him a lot. So yeah, buy Nick Pope. I think he's a great transfer. But only if you're on a wild card. Unless your goalkeeper is like injured or you absolutely despise the goalkeeper you have right now. I'm not sure I'd be using a transfer on a goalkeeper. That's the only thing I would say. But aside from that, you know, if you're on a wild card or you hate your goalkeeper right now, Nick Pope is your boy. He's your boy. Trippier, I'm going to also put in a similar area. I think he's a great transfer, but probably put him like here with his other Newcastle friends, to be fair. So all the Newcastle boys together, like one happy family. It's beautiful. It's so cute. So yeah, Trippier I'm going to put there. On set pieces, his creative numbers are getting slightly better throughout the season. We've got some good fixtures coming up. Good fixtures straight away. Clean sheets are on the cards for Newcastle, as we know. Yeah, decent pick. Just a very, very decent pick. A great transfer, particularly with all the failures that we're seeing from all these premium defenders. Someone around Trippier, like the Trippier mould, is probably, you know, just as good right now as a Trent Alexander-Arnold or a Cancelo or a Reece James or everyone like that, and he's cheaper. So it's a good. Rashford, I'm actually not so sure about. Rashford, like, I know people are going to absolutely hate me. I know people are going to hate me. But I think I'm arguably putting him in... I'm putting him in optional. I feel like we've got no one in bad transfer this week. So maybe I've copped out a little bit. Maybe I can move some players down. Let's bump some players down. Let's put Luis Diaz down there. I can't just have an empty category. So I'm going to bump Luis Diaz down. Rashford, I'm going to put in kind of like around here. The reason is because as every week goes past, I get a little bit more fearful about Rashford. I think Antony is eventually going to be nailed on the right wing, whereas I think Rashford is eventually going to be not nailed on the left wing. Because obviously we've got Ronaldo is still at the club. We've got Martial, who's going to be coming back to fitness soon. Particularly with all of these games being cancelled, like, time is moving fast. We've got the international break coming up after this game week anyway. That's going to give more time for players like Martial to get fit. We've still got Sancho there, who's going to be playing probably predominantly on the left-hand side, you'd say. So it's going to mean that Rashford is probably not going to be super nailed on. And the longer we leave it, the less nailed on Rashford becomes. So if, for example, the Manchester United versus Leeds game doesn't go ahead this game week, then I think Rashford just becomes a straight up bad transfer. So you're kind of betting on, well, first of all, this game has to go ahead, obviously, otherwise it becomes an avoid, right? Even if you're on a wild card, even if you're prepared to bench him, if he doesn't play this week, then I think he's too much of a rotation risk. And I know that's not going to go down well. But look, Manchester United fans, I'd be really interested to hear what you think. Antony, I do think is going to be the kind of, well, at a certain point, maybe within the next few weeks, we're going to see Antony nailed on the right-hand side. We are going to see Martial, Ronaldo and Rashford rotate for that striker spot, I guess. When Martial's back, maybe he takes that primarily. And then the left wing, Sancho rotating with Rashford. I think there could be some problems that come up there very quickly. Yeah, I do think there could be some problems. So there we go. That's the tier list. I feel like I've been pretty generous this week, which maybe I'm just in a good mood. I'm being very positive about a lot of these players. So I mean, I guess I guess more people will be happy at least. Most people just want me to put everyone in must buy. It seems like, judging by the comments I read, everyone's like, every single player that I write down that I put on the tier list, people are saying this player is a must buy. I can't put everyone in there, right? But there we go. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm reasonably happy with this tier list. As always, very, very interested to hear what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like, please do subscribe. It really does help out the channel so much. Apologies, we can't be 100% on anything right now. All I would say to you guys is just I guess wait as late as possible before making transfers, unless you're on a wild card, in which case go crazy, have some fun. Being on a wild card is meant to be fun, so enjoy it. But yeah, certainly if you're not on a wild card, do save those transfers till later on the week where we get some more information, because I think we are going to see probably a partial cancellation of Game Week 8. We're going to see a few games cancelled, postponed. I'm not sure which ones those are going to be. So that's pretty much it, guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. We're going to try and plow ahead with content as normal, with some obvious caveats and some asterisks. I hope you guys can be patient and understanding towards that. But I'm doing my best here. But there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow for a buy, sell, keep, avoid video, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.